Tinsley sends it to the outside. He can't get there. Kevin King is going to win the Barbizzo FTF Cup Series.
Into the lead. Bud gets wrecked in front of the pack. He saves it. 3-4 wide as they come to the white flag.
Here comes Vargas down on the apron. They are 5 wide. Ian Plash will win it at the line. Is this package? Oh, there goes Jordan Lopez Jr. That's your race leader. Caution flag is out.
Still no one willing to give up as they're going to be dead even off of the first chicane.
Oh, he saves it. What's going to happen here? Here comes the canvas.
Get your front there.
He's got it. He's got it. Get there. No.
Canvas is in.
In the pantheon of North American classics, Watkins Glen rests among some of the earliest permanent road circuits built in the U.S. While it may have changed a few times since it was first built, it retains its old-school feel with fast sweeping corners and very little runoff on either side of the track. So crack your knuckles and trim out those wings as we get ready to watch Round 9 of the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge. And you'll see it all live here on FTF.gg. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Roush Racing driver Joey Atterbury. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson. Joey, this should be a fun one. This is definitely one of those tracks that can kind of swing either way in terms of what sort of race we get.
Well, it's incredibly fast, and you named it, really sweeping corners. It keeps the top speeds way up there. And then one other curveball about tonight's format, we are not running that inner loop or the bus stop, right? We are just running flat out to the outer loop, the carousel, turn 5, whatever you want to call it. Watkins Glen already has some pretty big drafting battles, especially up the S's and down that straightaway. Well, you take out that bus stop, it's going to be even faster out here. So I have a feeling we're going to see some top speeds. It'll be a downforce battle, right? Who trimmed out the wing to go on that straightaway versus who's got the downforce through the rest of the course.
Well, looks like qualifying has wrapped, so let's go through our starting order, and it is very heavily weighted toward the GTD class today. Paul Gibson will start on the pole with Ryan Wasilewski starting next to him. Then it is Max Muir in P3 and Nathan Dowd starting 4th. Shane Larson will be P5 as Josh Wolf starts in the 6th position. Then in row 4, you'll see Eddie Layton next to Billy Smith in 7th and 8th. Leif Peterson will start 9th, and then Jimbo Pfeiffer rounds out your top 10. Then we get to the LMP2s where Jeffrey Ooms is supposed to start on pole, but he just had a disconnect. So we'll see if he can actually grid up for this race. Thomas Fisher will start 13th and Robert Cast 14th. Carter Kundinger P15, followed by Robert Tinsley in 16th and Brian Bennett in 17th. What about our GTD cars here, Joey?
Yeah, Ross Booth is currently sitting on that pole position for the GTD class, 17th overall, first in GT. Young Park lined up next to him in that number 77 car. Then comes Michael Marlowe in 3rd, Bradley Haley in that 4th place position. 5th place is Alex Monick, Eric Strapoli in 6th, Michael Ross back here in 7th, Ryan Robertson in 8th, Nikhil Kopkar in 9th, Cam Bidwell back here in the 10th place position in GTD.
Then we get to the 11th spot out there with Franco Margarella taking the pole for GTD Am. It's Paul Schmudlock starting in at 12th as Tom Hammond starts 13th. Then second in GTD Am will be Austin Diltz, followed by Trent Brown, third in that class, but 15th overall. Zach Michaelis is 16th and Mark Godrowski 17th. And it's Sheldon Rosenbaum, P18, and Shane Hunter 19th. 20th goes to Dale Green. Morgan Smith will be in the 21st position, David Shutt 22nd, and Chris Sherburne 23rd. The last of that field is going to be Andy Scheel, Trevor Vrosky, Nicholas Davis, and William Brennan. 44 total cars. It's a big track. It tends to be able to hold a lot, but 44 is going to be plenty to keep them on their toes, as looks like they'll be hopefully taking off relatively soon here. And I do believe, I'm checking to see if we've got Jeffrey Ooms. Yes, he is connected, but I do not see him on the grid yet. So he might have to start from pit lane. And, well, there goes that pole position. But like you said, Joey, at least passing opportunities are there at this track.
Absolutely. And remember, we got 60 minutes that we're going to be doing here at Watkins Glen, so there's going to be plenty of racing going on. I'm seeing about 10 GTP cars, about 6 LMP2 cars, but really the thick of this field, look at how many GT3 cars are lined up. 27 big old production cars with a lot of body work, and these prototypes, they're going to have to get through all of that.
Wow, miracle of miracles. Jeffrey Ooms has gridded up, so he will get to start from the top position out there as they start to take off now behind the pace car. Let's hope that we can get through those S's clean here, since it does funnel in and basically almost becomes like a street circuit there for that first part of the lap, with the walls pretty much right up against the pavement. You'll see these GTP cars take off and get great speeds down that back stretch up the hill. So it is going to be all about speed here today at Watkins Glen. Looks like pace car ready to give way to Paul Gibson, who had a very good qualifying out there. It was very difficult to reach in terms of pace. He is clear to go, and the green flag is out as they accelerate away. Very good start for third place. It looks like Max Muir might be able to take second away as they head down into the 90 for the first time. It looks like it's going to be clean through that first corner, and now they go up through the S's. Let's go to the LMP2s.
The number 19 car of Jeffrey Ooms still bringing him down slowly, and now stands on the gas, gets a great launch out of that pole position. Is actually going to bring his buddy Robert Cast along with him on that outside lane. Thomas Fisher, a nice deep brake zone into turn one. Everybody makes it through. They make their way up the S's. Cast and Kundinger fighting over third. Let's go to the GTs.
It looks like Ross Booth is going to lead them into the first turn as they fan out behind him. Thankfully, it looks pretty good back there, and we have no incidents coming through that first corner. Excellent to see as they work their way up the hill. Booth trying to pull away from Young Park, his main rival this season.
It's a nice, even start, really, from all three of these classes, and you see how many Porsches are up here at the front of this GT field. A couple of those Audis now poking out, and a little bit more of an aggressive move from Mario there in the middle of the field.
Absolutely, and as they swing their way through the carousel, we're still pretty side by side through the back of the field. All that slipstream is making it hard to get away from one another up into the front of the GTPs as they head through the final turn. Gibson is ahead of Muir. Wasilewski currently sitting in third.
I think that's a nice place to be in here at Watkins Glen. I saw one of the GTPs really slip up. I believe Joshua Wolf might have made a little bit of wall contact, but doesn't look like anything too bad. Paul Gibson, though, really setting the pace. Max Muir in that draft. We got to remember, this is still kind of the warm-up phase. I wonder what kind of speed that Cadillac has versus the Acura.
Muir's up to 4 wins so far. I'm sure he'd like to add to that, but Paul Gibson in front of him is going to be a tough nut to crack. You can see the speed that he holds here early on as they head down through into the chute. Wash still just kind of watching from behind there in the third position, trying to hold on so that he doesn't lose touch.
And here at Watkins Glen, the speeds are so high, you really can sit in that slipstream just like the number 69 car is doing. So if he's plenty happy with the pace from Paul Gibson out front, we might see Max Muir just kind of be content to sit there, maybe even fuel save a little bit.
That's a good point. So we'll see whether or not the 69 machine tries to play any games like that. They will have one scheduled pit stop, as they do not have enough fuel to make it to the end, but they're likely to take tires. As we got a car down pit lane, that is Andy Scheel, and I don't see damage on the car, but he is going to park it and will actually tow back to his stall. Oh, and another car coming in. That's Max Muir, actually. And it's not...
I was going to say, this is interesting. I don't know if this is from damage, if he just hit the wall or something. I was not looking at this car, so I'm going to be curious if it actually pulls into the stall.
So, yeah, it's not a penalty, and I don't see damage. Yeah, he's coming into his pit stall. Well, I guess it'll be whether or not he is there very long. He's going to take tires. Could it be maybe he forgot to put race fuel in?
You know what? That's a great point. There's always a different qualifying setup versus the racing setup, and these GTP cars, the prototypes, are the last to qualify before the race kicks over. I'm guessing that could be what it is.
He's up on his jack still. It's almost 30 seconds now as we watch Paul breathe a sigh of relief now that he's lost his main rival back there. Wasilewski is behind by about a second and a half, but it's also spreading out in the LMP2s as now we finally see the likes of Max Muir finally take off in the midst of the GT3 field to boot and add to his pain.
Yeah, thankfully, it's still the front of the GT field, so as long as he's nice going around a couple of these Porsches right here, he's going around Young Park, and now around the leader of Ross Booth. Now he's got some clean air, but I'm looking at timing and scoring 31 seconds to the back of the LMP2 field. That's not even the GTPs.
Yeah, so he was stationary for about 40 seconds. I'm guessing it was a fuel thing, which probably means he's going to actually have to stop another time. Let's take a look, since we're back here, at some of those GT3s. Booth leads Park. Marlowe is back there in third position, and Bradley Haley returns to these top spots. We haven't seen him up towards the front in a while.
Well, and I know that Michael Marlowe, this number 78 composite car right here, is hoping to have a nice, clean race. He has been having some incidents with some GTPs throughout the season, and I know that he pretty much has a target on his back for no good reason out there. He's hoping to keep it clean today.
Remember earlier I mentioned that Gibson's on 4 wins. Well, Booth has 5 of them. We're on round 9 right now, so he's literally taken more than half the races so far at the top spot, and that's with missing one of them on top of it. So pretty impressive strike rate out of our current championship leader. But it is definitely a Porsche party out front. Is the top 4, it looks like, are all in the German mark.
I know we're still on the early lap count here, but it's nice seeing so many of the GTs still in a train as we get our leader officially into the back of the GT field. This is why we love Autobahn. This is when things get a little crazy.
Well, without the chicane on the backstretch, the bus stop, hopefully it'll be a little bit easier because they'll have that long run down to the carousel to try and clear a lot of these cars. But you got to pick your spot carefully here up through the S's. As you can see, the racing line weaves back and forth and gaining in. Larson has a good chance at Wash, and Wash has a good chance at Gibson. They're narrowing up the gap, but they run out of straightaway.
Yeah, and Gibson, look at them all. This is the top 3 for the overall lead as they split the Porsche coming out of the outer loop, and now they got to deal with more cars going down into the laces of the boot. Really plunges downhill here, and then you charge it into this corner. You really got to take all of the grip and the compression, and look at third place really dive up in there. That's Shane Larson trying to get to the inside of Wasilewski, and now Gibson gets choked up on exit.
And Wash gets an excellent run on our leader. Gibson covers him off with the traffic, unfortunately, kind of closing up any opportunity for Ryan. Now they switch back around, coming up through the awkward turn 9. And as they do that, they almost stack up with one another. But I think we had a spin behind them potentially.
Oh, and then Wash just got hugely checked up by that Audi. Larson almost gets into the back of him. Paul Gibson was able to escape a little bit from that. And I think the car that you might have been talking about was the 7 car of Nathan Dowd. I saw him dropping a little bit.
Yeah, looks like he just spun himself under braking, getting kind of stuck in the traffic. He's back going, but he loses spots, falls down to 8th for the time being. Back through the S's we fly once again, still having to pass our way through the last of the GTD class. This is another good go for Shane Larson. Not so much for Wash. I don't think he's nearly close enough to Gibson, but also it looks like Shane does not get another chance to pass.
No, but they've made it through that GT field so they can kind of go back to normal racing as Larson looks down the inside of Washleski here. Wash takes that Darlington line, carries the momentum around the outside of the corner, defends the second place position. But I was going to say that these 3 drivers might be able to take a little bit of a breath, but this 117 car is on the charge.
I was just going to say the exact same thing. I mean, I can't believe how much on the attack he is here. Really trying to give multiple attempts at passing Ryan Washleski. Just none have quite stuck yet. Maybe it'll go better here now that they've cleared a lot of the GTD traffic. Also worth noting, we've lost Nikhil Kopkar and Morgan Smith. Morgan Smith, I believe, due to a connection problem. Kopkar, I'm not sure what happened to him. Battle for second rages on down into turn 1.
I believe Nikhil was one of those Mario-themed cars as the GTP cars continue. Oh, Wash with a huge moment there in turn 1. Had him big-time twitch right at the apex. Gives up that second position to Shane Larson.
Ryan Wash is out to the runoff, and now he's going to have to regroup and see if he can stick with that 117. Look at how much he lost just having that poor exit off of the 90, and that actually helped out Paul Gibson tremendously too. It's about a second up to the leader from P2 on top of things. I know we haven't covered the LMP2s much, but Ooms is ahead of Fisher by about a second and a half. It's looking rather uneventful.
And to talk about those LMP2s, the closest battle is for third. It's Carter Kundinger chasing his teammate of Robert Cast. These two have pretty much been glued together since the start of the race. Carter has fallen off just a little bit, but one thing that 0-2 is always good at is fuel save and the strategy game.
We'll see if it helps him today, because the thing is, Carter has not been on the top of the podium since the first round of the season. Been in a bit of a drought, so we'll see if he can return his way up there, and maybe with a little bit of help from Cast in front of him, like you said, trying to play tricky here today at what is a thirsty circuit as they once again hit the laces.
I was just checking on that 6'9" of Max Muir. He's now only 10 seconds back from this LMP2 field, so he is making his way back to the GTP group, but still a long ways to go. I'm curious, though, Joe, with 2 laps taken out of it and some extreme fuel save, I would probably go on another alternate strategy since really he's got nothing else to lose at this point.
Absolutely. I think when he hits the GTD traffic, pit, no matter what, because it's as soon as he reaches that, he's just going to lose time. He's about 40 seconds back from Jimbo Pfeiffer, who currently sits in 9th, from what I can tell, just roughly. So he definitely has a ways to go to even get out of last place in these GTPs. And the reason we keep mentioning that is because he is our points leader. So this is not going to help him out in that fight.
And to talk about the other foot, Paul Gibson up front, right? He has had so many races that have gone wrong for him. He has not found victory lane at Autobahn. Could this be the day that he puts together those pieces, finishes his encyclopedia book over there, and claims that checkered flag?
Yeah, sits third in the points right now. Dominic Dornenberg, who is not here today, is the one he's trying to overtake. So that'll certainly help him there since his rival's going to have to take a drop week. And, Nathan Dowd had another problem. He's off at the side of the track at the heel. There he is.
Yeah, this looks to be another single car spin, at least from what I can tell. Oh, no, I apologize. He was trying to go down the inside of, I believe, Eddie Layton. Had a little bit of contact on corner exit there, which sent him around. But I really think that this one might have been a racing incident, Joe.
Let's take a look at it. And, yeah, I mean, just racing close. And obviously he didn't intentionally make that contact, but certainly cost him quite a bit of time. And we've also had a problem with Ryan Wash, and that's the second time in turn one that the car has gone away from him, this time much more costly.
Oh, and look, you see that entire front right broken. He is in pit lane, had to take that tow button. I'm pretty sure that is going to be day over for Ryan Wasilewski. As things are starting to heat up in LMP2, this is Carter Kundinger taking a look down the inside of Robert Cast for third. Robert almost gets into the back end of Carter, but he has now got a fantastic run on Thomas Fisher. Takes it side by side in the S's.
Oh, this is going to get really interesting because this is a whole train of cars fighting for seventh in the GTDs. Oh, and almost making contact. Fisher has to dodge at the last second. Robert Cast may have scraped the wall.
And Cast is going to continue that momentum and now clear Fisher here before the breaking of the inner loop. So bad times for that red, white, and blue Dr. Dabber car, falling 2 positions in the matter of the same amount of corners.
And Kundinger up 2 in the same lap there.
Now he just punted a GT car.
Oh, boy, that is going to do him no favors. They do have penalties post-race in this series, so he's got to watch out. I don't see anybody at the side of the track, so hopefully he'll get away with that as we watch that fight for 7th place here with Cameron Bidwell leading Robertson, Schmudlik, Ross, as well as Margarella, and it looks like Muir's already coming through.
Yeah, that GTP car doesn't quite clear Cam Bidwell, so LT Gray gets to be able to breathe a little bit. He really is known as LT Gray. However, it seems like there's a lot of tigers stalking him in the grass instead of him stalking his prey.
Yeah, it's kind of impressive how many he's holding back right now, and he's got a long race to keep doing it. He'll probably want to try and break away from them, unless they are doing what we were talking about earlier, of just saving a bit of fuel behind that car, and it's kind of compounding behind them where everybody thinks they can get tricky with so many cars breaking the air for them.
Now, I do have a little bit of inside knowledge on Cam. I know that he does a lot of racing with Autobahn here, but here at this Watkins Glen track with these GT cars, I think really their focus has been on Daytona in these prior couple weeks. So I think maybe just a lack of practice time might be stacking everybody up behind him.
That could be, which has got to be frustrating if the slipstream is getting them close but not allowing them to pass at this stage, as Robertson in the Audi continues to stick close, looking up in front of them. This is for third, with Marlowe ahead of Haley, and then that's Staropoli in the blue Porsche as well.
I know Marlowe's having flashbacks right now, seeing these prototypes come up in the mirror. He just wants to stay clean as the 82 of Robert Tinsey goes down the inside, and he's also going to bring the 171. I believe that's Brian Bennett there with them, and looks like everything is staying clean, but Michael Marlowe has actually fallen off about 2 seconds from Young Park, separated by about 2 seconds from those leaders.
Starting to pull away a little bit. Marlowe's going to have to get on top of things. Also, for those that are fans of the GTD AM, Franco Margarella currently leads there in 11th over Austin Diltz, but not by much. It's about 0.3 of a second between them. In fact, I think he's in that giant pack that we were talking about earlier.
And these 3 cars, well, I mean, look at all of the racing that we've got in GT. I really feel, Joe, this could be a product of not having the inner loop, that bus stop section. It just keeps the cars so close together. It's almost like a Daytona draft pack.
Well, it's going to make it fun for us, at least. I don't know how fun it'll be for the drivers. At least if you're the one with more downforce on the car here today, as we watch the Audi of Margarella head through turn 1. He wants to put Michael Ross between himself and his rival, since Michael is not in that GTD AM class, and they'll still race for overall GT position. Oh, he's got a fantastic run on that Ferrari, actually.
Is he going to be able to side draft it? It actually looks going to go up there and bump draft Michael Ross down the straightaway. So even though that Franco Margarella is leading that AM class with Austin Diltz right behind him for that position, I think that they want to go up and chase down the ultimate lead.
And well, we just saw the overall lead change. Shane Larson used the traffic to get by Gibson. Gibson tries to go back inside of him. There they are, right now on the screen, in the midst of this fight. Looks like he'll hold on, coming down. Oh, no, he gets tipped around hard into the wall. And was that Bidwell? No, that's Robertson that goes with him. Oh, and that was looking so good for Shane up to that moment. That was a fantastic move before it unraveled.
Yeah, I was noticing that Shane Larson was definitely the most aggressive of those top 3 GTP drivers, and here he is with an entire rear clip missing off of the back end of the car. He was just trying to dice it up with the GT traffic, got in, didn't get clear of that Audi, and unfortunately it got spun around.
Well, the way the thing is crabbing, I fear that his day is most likely over. I'm not sure he'll be able to get out unless he's many, many laps down. I wondered when I saw him go into that corner, it looked like that car was starting to drift up the hill.
Well, you could see the gap that he was going for. He thought he cleared the Audi, and then he was going to go to the outside of the next GT car. But the problem is the Audi just can't disappear off of the racetrack right here. He's closed it up. He's expecting the prototype to stay to the inside, but he wanted to go to the outside as well, and 2 cars are going over 1 space.
Also comes to a halt. I'm not sure if he managed to make it into pit lane. Yes, looks like he's in there now. So both of them, unfortunately, going to be licking their wounds. And now Gibson, oh my goodness, because of that, he's gone from being attacked by 2 different drivers early on to being 10 seconds ahead of Billy Smith. He is cruising now.
Paul is a very good driver. Let's see if he can manage to keep on this one, or if it'll all unravel at some random point for him. Good luck, Paul.
Yeah, it ain't over by any stretch of the imagination, but we're already a third of the way through, so the laps have gone by fast, and Gibson has a handy lead, so he can avoid taking risks. But we've seen you can do everything right, and someone else's bad decision can definitely ruin your day out there. Larson has finally made it back to pit lane, but I worry that we're not going to see him out on track again during this race as we come back once again to, I think, some of our LMP2s here. No, this is our GTPs still. This looks to be the battle for 3rd place. Leif Peterson, I think, had his first podium last round, so he's trying to repeat that.
Yeah, and right now he's got the number 12 of Joshua Wolf giving chase right now. So they dive off down into turn 1. And like you mentioned, Joe, this is now a battle for what is 3rd position overall on the podium. So here we go up the S's. Got to maneuver through a few of these GT cars, but it really has been an accordion back and forth. Josh catches Leaf. Leaf gets caught up a little bit, and here we go down the straightaway. Joshua Wolf has a fantastic run. Leif Peterson really not going defensive at all. Josh Wolf going to look down the inside with a big-time blink. He's going to secure that position through the outer loop.
And he is there. So Josh Wolf now is your P3, and getting to the inside of the Porsche. Looks like Peterson will be able to navigate Young Park, but that doesn't help the 77 try to chase down Ross Booth. So he stays about 2 seconds behind that battle for the GTD lead as the 2 of them now come up the hill. And once again, traffic not really looking like it is helping out Leif Peterson all that much. Well, I think hopefully we'll get a second to breathe here, because it's been kind of nonstop since the start of this race.
Well, it has been, but if we do want a second to breathe, here is the class that we can do it with. LMP2, it's composite performance 1, 2, 3 right now. You see the black and green cars really line a huge gap all the way back 8 seconds to Thomas Fisher in that 4th place position. So right now, Composite has got the LMP2 field locked up, looking pretty good.
That is just amazing. Composite 1, 2, 3 out there in your LMP2s right now. So that will do them no harm in the team's championship at this stage. One of the smallest LMP2 fields we've seen in a while as well. Only 6 of them running, and that's everybody. We haven't lost any of them, knock on wood.
No, and I will say that the top 3 are pretty separated from 4th place, but Brian Bennett and Robert Tinsley have actually been having a pretty good battle, and they're not too far off of Thomas Fisher. So we've still got 38 minutes left. The LMP2 cars, even though there's only 6 of them out there, the back 3 definitely still in a fight.
Our GTD AM race is getting interesting for the podium because Trent Brown is being chased by Michaelis right now, and actually they're side by side coming down through the outer loop, and it looks like, just holding him off, trying to squeeze him back to the racing line. Brown trying to make sure that Michaelis cannot get this pass done, giving him very little room to maneuver.
Yeah, both of the Porsches accelerate into this really uphill compression section. Let's see if Trent Brown in this Mario-themed car can put the power down on exit, but it is actually Michaelis that actually closed up just a little bit there throughout the apex of the corner, kind of equal distant down here. Another tricky little braking area. This corner exit always throws you for a loop. A lot of the competitors drive all the way over it, but it can upset the car.
And you don't get a slowdown penalty, as you can see. Drivers going way, way out there, so they're allowed to do that. There are places, though, such as this corner coming up, where if you go out too far and don't return to the track in time, it'll tell you to give some time back. So drivers do have to watch out. And we have to remember, there are incident limits in this series. At 20X, they get a drive-through, and then every 5 after that.
I'm curious what happens through the S's here with these two cars. You see one of the GTP's cars coming up behind, but Trent does not have any sort of slipstream in front of him. So that really is going to play to Zach's favor back there in the number 44. But Trent seems to get a good run up through the S's. Here comes that GTP car that I was mentioning. He's going to clear him nice and easy to the outside. And it actually looks like that Mario-themed car has got a pretty trimmed out wing right now. The composite car not really closing it in on the slipstream.
He's got enough mushrooms in store for him, so he can manage
Star
to
power.
Yeah, exactly. He can boost away from him. I'm actually kind of curious. I'm so used to seeing the Cup cars race here, as well as the Camel old GTO Audis. They struggle up those S's. Are these GT3 cars pretty safe to give a margin to all those prototypes, or is it still sketchy when they try to kind of weave through there?
I think if the driver knows that he's going to go too wide, there's a certain line to take, and it's no big deal to go too wide. However, if the GT driver is on kind of the single racing line and gets surprised by a GTP car, I think things can still go south in that situation.
We'll keep our eye out for that then, see if we wind up with any serious problems out of it. Again, this is the battle for the podium in the GTD AM, but it is 13th out of all of the GTDs. But really, these two probably more worried about that AM championship. They take that just as seriously. It's very important. And there's no difference, we should clarify, between the AM cars and the regular GTD cars. It is all down to driver rating.
Well, in talking about that, let's take, for example, Franco Margarella leading that AM class, a 144.58 that last time around. We were watching Trent and Zach for those couple laps. Guess what their lap time was? 143.58, so identical. It's just the track position that's really separating all of these GT cars.
Now, Carter Kundinger just pitted from the LMP2s. I was trying to see if there is any sort of damage, and it doesn't appear to be. I think this is a scheduled stop. It's just on the early side of things.
Very interesting. You're right. He is in pit lane here, taking that full service. I think there could be a couple things going on, is that if he saved enough fuel, all right, take the early stop. That way you can come out in some clean traffic, hopefully. And the other thing is, if he was coming up on that GT traffic, he could say, I don't want to deal with this at all right now. Let's take that service.
It did look like he was in the midst of some of it, but I don't think he was coming up to a major group. I could be wrong on that. Yeah, that's kind of my thought, too, that maybe he was just trying to think ahead here a little bit as we come over to, I believe, the battle for third in GTD Pro. Staropoli not only has Simonic behind him, that's Marlowe and Haley.
And Marlowe's actually fallen down a few positions. Remember, he was sitting up there in third, so the number 993 as well as the number 250 have been able to squeak through there, and now they are actually starting to pull it out just a little bit. But check out the Audi. Got a fantastic run. That's Alex Simonic. Is he going to look down to the inside? Not down into turn number 1. Didn't want to make the pass down there. He wants to slipstream through the S's.
Well, not only that, Eric actually hit the wall exiting the final corner, so he might have a little bit of damage on that left-hand side here, and this could slow him down in a straight line. Let's see if Alex is going to be able to overtake him. He's going to poke his nose to the outside, so Eric's still going to defend as they head towards the outer loop. Will he be able to keep him back? This is going to be tough from the long way around. There is banking there, and yeah, he's going to back out.
And you saw how aggressive that Audi was. He tried to shove that nose right down the inside as soon as the Porsche opened the door, but Staropoli did a fantastic job not to come off of that apex curbing whatsoever. did not allow the opportunity to that white and black Audi behind. And really with these two squabbling over it, it's allowed Michael Marlowe and Bradley Haley to kind of close right back in on this third place battle.
A couple more takers in the pits in the GTPs. Josh Wolf and Eddie Layton are in. And if it gives you any idea, despite them having already started taking their service quite a while ago, Max Muir is only passing them right now. So he's barely catching them at this stage and has a lot of work to do as we watch one of our LMP2s have to wait patiently in amongst these cars. This is an important battle, and right now that's our leader in the LMP2, so Jeffrey Ooms definitely doesn't want to hurt his chances at the win where these guys fight.
I really feel like Alex Simonik out here is faster than Staropoli in this Porsche. It's just a matter of where he can get the move done in this Audi. He didn't take the opportunity last time into turn one. Once again, he follows him through, and I think that's all strategic. I think that he doesn't have the pull up the S's and down the straightaway. He wants to draft off of the Porsche, whether that's for fuel saving or he thinks that the best chance for that move. Oh boy, is that a race leader coming through? Got a big time GTP stack up.
Yeah, and putting in a lap on Eddie Layton after he exited for his pit stop gives Alex Simonik another chance. In fact, this time he's going to be able to get to the inside as they head down into the outer loop, and he's going to make the pass into third.
I think that's exactly where he wanted to make that move, not into turn one, and now he can use really the road course section throughout Watkins Glen to try to pull away from Staropoli in that Porsche.
Leif Peterson is pitting. Jimbo Pfeiffer is. Looks like Nathan Dowd as well. Number of our GTPs are in now. So seeing some interesting trends. Also, okay, Jeffrey Ooms pitted, and he's behind Carter Kundinger. Carter has jumped him with a 3-second quicker stop.
Oh, very nice strategy from that 0-2. I didn't think that he could save that much so early on, but he has proven me wrong. But now it is up to that outright pace between Ooms and Kundinger. Can Kundinger hold off the pressure?
I wondered if Ooms was responding to him, and it looks like he was trying to. It just did not work. But it is very close, as you said. And now surely Ooms is going to be on the attack.
And we also have to remember Ooms is fresh out of the pits here on this lap, so he's still kind of getting everything under him with that full fuel load. Carter Kundinger sliding the back end of the car out of that corner exit. And I do think that Carter might be a few tenths slower per lap than Ooms. I'm curious if there's going to be team orders or if there's going to be a battle.
I bet there's going to be a battle here. From what I know of these guys, I don't think they just command everybody to sit, especially this early in the race, knowing that the win is still on between them. Carter Kundinger still holds that track advantage, but they are not in first yet. They still need everybody else in that class to pit. That was a poor exit from Carter onto the main straight, but I don't think it's a long enough stretch for Ooms.
I don't think that Ooms wants to pass in turn one either, and easiest way to tell these two cars apart, Carter has got the green wheels out there in the lead. Jeffrey Ooms has got the black wheels. They are painted identical and side by side. Ooms snuck it up the inside of turn three. I wasn't expecting to go side by side there. Joe, were you?
I don't think Carter was even. I definitely did not expect that move. They're going to continue on down the backstretch to the outer loop as they come upon traffic to boot. And I think Carter might get kind of caught up here as they go on either side. Oh, into the grass. Oh, Jeffrey Ooms up against the wall and down into the corner. Somehow that car is still going, but it has got to be wounded. And that was William Brennan that I think he bounced off of a bit to boot.
And I'm checking Jeffrey Ooms' car right now in the bodywork as he gets right up behind the 17 and shows, he did not hit the 17. I can report right there. But unfortunately, the 17 definitely into the wall. I don't see any steering damage on Ooms' car. I'm riding on board right now. I think he might have escaped death.
Wow, which is amazing because that looked like a pretty tough hit. Now he is a few seconds off of Kundinger, actually just about 1 second off of Kundinger, I should say. So he needs to catch back up to him. But if he hasn't damaged the car and it's still at full speed, then he could still run him down from what we saw after that pit stop.
And upon closer look, the only section that I see damaged on Ooms' car is the very front left fender. It's actually rearward of the front tire. Just the bodywork isn't aligned right there properly. So he does carry just a touch of damage. I wonder how much that's going to translate for lap time.
By the way, Max Muir is up to third, and that's him on screen there that you can see going by, but he has yet to take his second stop, which he will need to finish this race. And taking a little bit of look around, Carter Kundinger, our new LMP2 leader, but decided not to pass at that stage. Shane Hunter staying out of the way so that Ooms doesn't do the same thing again. And down around the outside, Muir is in no mood to try and wait around for some of these slower classes.
I saw that too. He was definitely quite close to Carter as they entered the boot section of the racetrack here. And now they come up the hill over these little bumpies. They are here in iRacing. They are a pain in the butt in that braking zone. But I'm noticing that Jeffrey Ooms has closed it back in on Carter Kundinger. Not at the pace that I was expecting. So I do feel like his car might be a little bit hurt.
Did they not get rid of those bumps once they repaved this? Are they still there?
Oh, they're still there for sure. Yeah, you're never going to get rid of those things.
Oh, go figure. Well, it's on once again what I think will be the lead soon, because it looks like Brian Bennett has pitted, but we're waiting on Robert Cast to come in and take his stop. And he should have maybe one more lap before he's out of the pit window. And Carter Kundinger is under threat once again. He's got to be wondering, what do I have to do to get rid of this guy?
Yeah, well, Ooms is a fast race car driver. He's got a fast race car underneath him. Even though it's a little bit damaged just using all of the slipstream, Carter moves defensive right in the middle of the racetrack, and they're actually coming up on a GT battle that you see as well. Ooms to the outside. Can he carry the downforce and grip around the outer loop? They're lining it up again. Deja vu. 3 wide going down into the laces.
Oh, I thought he was going to try it again, but he learned his lesson, thankfully. But he also didn't get the spot. He saw that car and decided, maybe I've pushed my luck enough. So he'll stay in second place. That's still a battle for 10th in the GTDs between Hammond and Brown. Actually, I think Brown got away from his GTD AM rival that he was fighting with before, because I don't see him around anymore. In the meantime, still going past some of the other GTD cars and up around the awkward turn 9. Carter Kundinger lives to fight another day.
But very busy with the GT traffic here. It's all about these little decisions. As they clear a couple of these more, the Carter gets around the Porsche. Ooms decides to go around the outside of the final corner, but look at how much it's actually stretched out now between these two. 1.1 seconds.
I see Ross Booth pitting and Eric Starapoli. This might be one of those danger zones as well. Is that Cast? Holy cow! How is Cast in the lead? Did Carter and Jeffrey battle too much and allow Robert Cast to jump them both?
I think that's exactly what has happened, because you look at the pit stop times. Robert Cast at 25.3, Carter Kundinger 25.2. So identical times. You're right. It's just the battling that has cost Carter and Ooms.
What a twist in the tale. Robert Cast, now your leader. So it has gone from Jeffrey having to fight not just one, but now 2 of his own teammates to try and win this race. They'll go by the Audi of Bradley Haley. With him being alone, should be relatively easy for these drivers. Oh, but it's bad timing for Ooms, who's going to lose the most out of the trio and fall back a bit. But it is still 1, 2, 3 composite, but almost in the reverse order of what we saw before.
Yeah, pretty much. It's weird how that works out there. And I thought that Carter had pulled off that perfect strategy, but it was actually Robert Cast pulling that Uno Reverso card on Carter, coming out in the lead and right now actually running away with things.
I was going to say before we had that sudden surprise there out of pit lane, this could be a bit of a danger zone for the prototypes, because now that we're getting pit stops for the GTD class, that pit in, the drivers are instructed to stay off to the right-hand side. But if you're not paying attention, I have seen multiple times that wrecks have happened when cars are trying to take full speed through the apex and that car is pitting.
That's a good point. That's a common tripping area here at Watkins Glen, especially with the multi-class racing. I haven't seen it catch anybody out so far today, and if it was, I would expect it to be in that first kind of handful of laps when the GTP cars were going through the GT3 traffic. Gosh, that's a lot of T's out there. But thankfully, we haven't seen any big ones yet, and the walls are really close here at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, honestly, it kind of amazes me that they've kept them as close as they are in a lot of places. Right there through the chute, especially. That seems like such a fast corner, and I'm glad they have the challenge, but it does scare me sometimes when I see wrecks there.
And I'm trying to figure out exactly what's happening here in GT3. It looks like the top group of GT drivers has yet to come down pit road. The majority of them have, so that's the reason why Trent Brown in the AM class has cycled all the way up to the lead, as well as Alex Simonic in that Audi. That is, Simonic leading currently about 2.7 seconds over Bradley Haley, it looks like. But Ross Booth and Young Park have both taken their stops, so they cycled back to about 6th or 7th right now, just waiting on the last of them to pit in, and then we'll get a good picture. But we can sometimes see cars go as long as 50 minutes on these cycles in the GTD class. Looks like Alex is going to finally come in for fuel. Will Haley follow him? Yes, he will. I would expect the entire GTD remaining cars that have not hit pit lane to come down here. I'm watching Tom Hammond as well as Trent Brown. They are the remaining ones. They are also hitting pit lane right now, so that is as empty as you can get a GT car.
Yep. This is definitely the end of that window. I think Brennan's our last one that we need from 8th position now, and that should be every single car that needs to take a stop, including Max Muir, who has taken his second pit stop and is currently in 6th. So now he's finally starting to overtake a few cars in his own class.
And his best lap is a 127.6. Everybody in front of him, at least up until 3rd place, is a slower lap time than him overall today. So he will be making up that ground as he ducks down to the inside of an LMP2 car. I think that's really what it's going to be for him from here on out, Joe, is to how efficiently can he get through the rest of the traffic?
Yeah, 7 seconds to Leighton. Should probably be doable if he's still pretty fast in 20 minutes here. But, we might have a battle for the lead in the... that's Margarella and Bidwell. That is for position. That's for 8th in the GTDs. But GTD AM leader, Margarella, is going to at least get by Cameron. And yes, looks like the Porsche is going to back out of it.
The other one that I was just checking in on was that battle for 3rd place overall in GTD. The 250 of Alex Simonic has some company. Remember, he was battling with Eric Staropoli in that Porsche earlier. He got around the Porsche. Michael Marlowe has not left this group either as we continue to watch. This is Franco and Cameron run up through the boot section.
Out of the toe. And this is along the sole here. Big rise along this part of the track and then into the heel, which is a lot trickier than you would think. I think some of the difficulty was taken away with these newer curbs, but I'm not going to complain about that because I always seem to mess that one up on the old curbs. Meanwhile, back onto the main circuit, he's starting to pull away a little bit. So it looks like Franco is using that pace well here in the latter stages of the race. That battle, you're right, between 3rd, 4th, and 5th is looking pretty tight as now we turn our attention to that. A big blink from behind there from Marlowe.
Don't ever want to see that, but at least he's the caboose on the train. They don't really have to focus on that at all. I thought that the Audi did not have the top-end speed that the Porsche of Staropoli had earlier, and now that black and blue Porsche is in the slipstream, look at Alex go all the way defensive. Driver's right. Oh, he moves to the middle of the racetrack. I wonder if Staropoli said, hey, let's do some bump drafting. I don't want to fight right now.
It was a bit of a sketchy move if he expected him to bump draft him, though, as they switch back now down into the chute, down to that apex, late apex through that corner, and drifting it all the way out to the curb on the outside. There's a big look from Marlowe. Don't think it was a serious attempt, though.
I think anybody is just trying to kind of scratch and claw for the track position that they can find as we ride on board with Michael Marlowe. This is your 5th place car in GT, but it is a battle for that podium. That is fourth and third directly in front of him with only 17.5 minutes remaining.
Sounds like we may have had another wreck for Nathan Dowd, and I think he got involved with somebody else potentially. Oh, yeah, this is one of our GT cars, and this might be a bit of what I was talking about earlier of the difficulty trying to manage the traffic through this portion. That is Sheldon Rosenbaum. Yeah, that I kind of put that one on Nathan Dowd.
It's super tough. You know, the GT cars in the track, the prototypes are coming through. There's a huge speed gap, speed delta, whatever you want to call it. And my opinion, the GT car kind of has to pick a side. Let's see from the prototype's point of view. He's on the left side, so the prototype goes right, and then the door kind of closes there with the 87. That's a tough one to call. You could kind of view that from a few different angles.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he had to make a split-second decision. He didn't want to lose momentum, but it's really a shame to see because both those drivers did not need that today, especially Sheldon, who could use some good results here as they continue on. Looks like Dowd is in fourth still. So is he not damaged from that? Or is that car just in such a good position?
Those prototypes are usually built pretty tough here on iRacing, and I'm checking the gaps. He's only about, he's actually closing it in on Leif Peterson, so it must not have affected him that much.
Yeah, apparently. So, yeah, Peterson might have to fight for this podium still. And you could see one of our three LMP2 leaders there. We haven't covered that battle because it is very much spread apart. It's almost 4 seconds from P1 to P2 and about 2 more between second and third as well. And in fact, that is Ooms that is trying to make it 3 wide coming out of the heel.
They all are able to escape out the other side. All right, though. You see all 3 classes here, GTD, GTP, and then Ooms being very patient in that LMP2 car all the way back there as we come and complete another lap at Watkins Glen.
Robert Casts asked something about an 8X. Oh, he had contact with Josh Wolf just now. So Robert Cast hopefully doesn't have damage from that one because, again, he is our LMP2 leader. So we turn the cameras to him, taking a look, and again, it doesn't seem like there's anything.
Front right, Joe. Definitely damage on the front right of Robert Cast. I see splitter, front end, front right fender damage for sure.
Uh-oh. Well, things are getting complicated, it seems, down in the LMP2s at this stage. We were looking at Staropoli and Simonic there, who remained quite tight together in that battle for third.
I wonder what this is going to do and affect the pace, because remember, we saw just a very slight amount of damage on the LMP2 car of Ooms, and he really hasn't seemed to recover at all from that. So I wonder if it's going to negatively affect Robert Cast as these GTP cars make their way through this GTD battle, squeezing between Simonic and Staropoli.
This is always the most fascinating part of Autobahn, is the dealing with this traffic. They're not long races, only 60 minutes. So 3 classes, not unheard of, happens often in real life, with more even in IMSA. Well, actually, I guess 4 classes. This does kind of emulate IMSA in that sense. But the races are so short that drivers cannot lose time.
Track position is always important, and there's no yellow flags out here, so I feel like the prototype drivers, there's more gain if you're aggressive out there than negative, as we watch Max Muir make a move into turn 1, and that is for position on Eddie Layton. So he has chopped down that big-time gap. Max Muir now inside the top 5. 10 seconds is the gap up to P4.
It's been an impressive recovery, but I mentioned that about 40-second gap. It is still about 36 seconds to the lead. I think the win probably would have been a realistic potential for him compared to Paul Gibson, but that early mistake cost him quite a bit as we watch the fight here between Leif Peterson and Nathan Dowd, who has a car made of just absolute Teflon. Nothing seems to break it.
And they got to be careful here because the GTPs are definitely faster than the LMP2 cars in the braking zones and through the corners, but they are following an LMP2 car through this slower section of the racetrack. Nathan Dowd, Leif Peterson both being extremely patient behind a slower class car.
And this, I think, is going to cost a little more time to Dowd, who once again just waits here, trying not to get into the back of Peterson as well. Coming up into the 90, surely Leif is going to look to the inside. No, he's not. He's going to wait once again. This is our leader of the LMP2s, Robert Cass. Now he stays off to the side and they can finally clear.
And, you know, I'll give credit to Leif Peterson. He saw that was the leader of the class. He didn't want to make any risks at all, but it has fallen into the clutches of Nathan Dowd as he now moves to the right side of the racetrack, drives right around Leif Peterson on the straightaway.
Considering how many times we've seen Dowd in problems today, I'm really shocked that he's up to the podium. He's another car that must have just impressive speed, and we're left to wonder what if he had had a cleaner race.
Well, could you say he's had a Dowd and up day?
Well done, sir. It definitely looks like he has been through the order, as he'll have 12 minutes to go, but he has 7.5 seconds to catch Josh Wolf. That's going to be a little bit too much of a tall order, and so this might be the end of the road for him in terms of gaining positions. Max Muir, well, if he could gain 7 seconds on Leif Peterson, that's a possibility, but again, that's going to be pretty difficult for him.
Yeah, definitely a long ways to go up there, but honestly, a great comeback drive for Max Muir. It's just such a shame to see that qualifying setup probably go in there. I know that's what we were speculating on. I know that I've done it a ton of times, and especially when the GTPs are the final class to qualify, I can definitely see that was the problem.
Ooh, Michael Marlowe almost managed to get by Staropoli for that fourth position. That was out of the heel of the boot. They were side by side. You can see he's dropped back now, but he's still well within range to be a threat as they get close to that exit, and Staropoli has already hit that wall once.
Let's see, Marlowe looks down to the inside. He was nowhere close enough to make the move, but he was just kind of posturing the car. It didn't work out on corner exit. Look at Staropoli just put the foot down and really pull away out of the 90.
It looked like Marlowe was off the apex there, so I think that worked out way better for Eric, and you can see how much of a difference it makes from the onboard shot here as that car becomes smaller in frame. There goes one of our GTPs, Jimbo Pfeiffer, currently sitting 8th in that class. We've lost a lot of drivers, but not many of them are prototypes. It's been mainly our GTDs, Nikhil Kopkar, Morgan Smith, Ryan Robertson, David Shutt, Nicholas Davis, Michael Ross, and Sheldon Rosenbaum.
Yeah, the only prototypes that have retired was Shane Larson and Ryan Washleski, and we saw those, right? Both heavy wall hits on those. So, yeah, pretty good attrition rate only out of the GT field. All of the LMP2 cars still running.
Does make sense, though, since I think about half of our field is GTDs today, so it seems more likely we're going to see them fall out. Meanwhile, looking a little bit farther down, this is for the third place in fourth place in AM, I believe. So Trevor Vavrovsky and Trent Brown once again. We've been seeing a bit of Trent today.
He must have really loaded up on those green shells. He has been on the attack in this AM class. This time, the new competitor is Trevor Vavrovsky in that Porsche right in front of him. We're going to see what Mario can do in this 37 car.
He's definitely putting the pressure on here. Again, for just outside the podium in the GTD AM. Vavrovsky there in the number 10 machine, looking to try and collect some points today. And actually, I got to check to see where that battle sits.
Sorry, I think this is Marlowe. I think had a wide exit out of one. I was making a comment that Trent Brown actually smacked the wall coming out of that final corner, but I believe Marlowe definitely fallen off here.
Oh, we need a replay of this. It was contact with Staropoli. He made the move finally down to the 90. Staropoli went for the undercut, and unfortunately it mistimed it, gets into the back of him, spins him around.
That is really unfortunate for Michael Marlowe. I had mentioned earlier that it was really the GT car or the GTP cars that were ganging up on him. But unfortunately, this time, Porsche on Porsche crime.
So Marlowe falls to 7th because of that. Staropoli stays P5. Did Bradley Haley get by him, though? Or was he ahead of him? I'm trying to remember if this was for 5th or not. It's a lot that's happened.
You know, I did not see Bradley Haley get by Eric Staropoli at some point. I wonder, that happened in that turn 1 exchange. I'm actually looking at the replay right now.
So he did, okay, so he did manage to overtake him. That was a position gained. And Haley actually gets 2 for 1, essentially, in that one, bumping himself up into 4th. He's got to catch Alex Simonek by 2.3 seconds if he wants a podium out of this. I'm not sure what kind of pace Bradley has been running, though, up to this point. That was our overall leader, Paul Gibson, that just dashed past.
And with all the GT retirements, there's been a lot of Porsches that have kind of fallen by the wayside. We've got 2 Audis, Alex Simonek on 3rd place, and then Bradley Haley in this white and yellow car that we're watching right now. Kind of the 2nd fastest Audi of today.
Even still, 5 of the top 7 are Porsches, so they're still doing pretty well up there. But the Audi is holding its own. Definitely seems to be the 2nd best car to be in here at Watkins Glen this time. As they swing their way through the outer loop, it looks like Haley's going to have to fight for this one. Staropoli, despite being involved in the incident, has recovered quickly.
And quite honestly, going back in Autobahn history, the Audi was a very successful GT car for a lot of the drivers. When iRacing came out with this Evo kit, I think it kind of got a resurgence of life. It's good to see it back up towards the front of the field.
Absolutely, and it looks fantastic. That was a big slide from Eric there coming off the corner. Thankfully, it did not touch the grass, it looks like, and he was able to keep it together. Not too many laps left for the pair of them, considering it takes close to 2 minutes to circulate around here, even the GT3 cars.
Yeah, it's Audi versus Porsche. I've really noticed, well, not with Bradley Haley per se, but with Alex Simonek, who is just a couple seconds in front of him. But the Audi was a little bit slower on the top end. That all has to do with each individual car setup, though. Bradley Haley could have a little bit more wing trimmed out of the thing and compared to that other Audi.
Calling me surprised here, but Ooms still is in 3rd and has caught up to Kundinger, but Robert Cast, is basically run away from them. He's still at about 4.5 seconds up in the lead over this fight. As there was a big slide from Jeffrey Ooms off of turn 9. I thought that Ooms has been kind of the class of the field, and the LMP2s off into the grass goes Kundinger. He's going to keep it together so it doesn't actually wreck, but this opens the door for Ooms as he looks to the inside, down into turn 1. It's going to be a braking duel between them. Ooms is going to be able to pull ahead, but now he needs a good exit around the outside as they split on either side of the Audi.
Yeah, and Carter is now in that draft. We're going to see if that aero damage on the front end of Ooms' car is going to affect him. A GTP car is going to fly around the outside. But look at the draft. Carter's now going to tuck in and try to follow that draft of the GTP car, see what kind of top-end speed he can get. Who's going to come out the other end of the outer loop the best? Ooms hanging tough on the inside.
Oh, I thought he was on a trajectory to hit Carter there, but Carter now has the inside as it switches back into the chute, trying to give each other enough space. Respectful, but hard racing. It carries on for the 3rd corner now, coming into the toe of the boot. Now it's Ooms' turn to have the inside. Accelerating up the hill, he feeds him out of the grass.
Oh, a little bit of contact there between the two, but it is still side by side. Carter is probably going to have to concede the position right here, which he does. However, you can still over-under it. I don't think this racing is over, but we've only got 3 minutes remaining.
You know, I said I don't think there's team orders, and I think that looks correct here. But you also have the golden rule, don't wreck your teammate.
It looked like Carter that last lap. I was pretty impressed. He turned it into an LM Pro 2 in that corner, going all the way off of the grass. So he's had a heck of a save. Really, all 3 of these composite cars have had their adventures today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you think about Nathan Dowd doing the same thing earlier as well in this GTP. Definitely been a bit of an off-road race for a track that doesn't see much grass out there between itself and the walls. So kudos for the excitement, but my goodness, has this been a wild one for the prototypes. Big run from Carter Kundinger, and here we go all over again.
Carter down to the inside, but look, we've got GT cars that we're coming up on. Are we going to split them 3 wide on the exit again? It's going to happen on the apex, around to the outside. Ooms hangs on for now.
Whew, thankfully, it looked like Trent saw that coming. He left them plenty of space on the exit, and they managed to make it clean. Now going by Trevor Vrosky as well, up to the inside, just managing to sneak through. And we don't see a repeat of the earlier accident that we had with Shane Larson. Oh my goodness. Again, this is for second and third in LMP2. This is going to go all the way to the finish. Whoa!
Huge checkup, and now Jeffrey Ooms spins it around all by himself. Such a shame. He's got plenty of time to get it back going before Robert Tinsley comes up just looking for a clean spot on the racetrack, which he does, but that means Carter Kundinger has got second position.
Whew. With their pace, even with the battling, the composite team, had put a massive gap between themselves and the rest, but this is a case of that split-second decision once again. He decided the outside was the place, but so did the Audi.
Yeah, you could see it coming up. The Audi was for sure going to check him up. It's just Ooms chose the wrong lane. The Audi left the inside open, and you saw the spin result.
White flag getting prepared for Paul Gibson. This one has been an absolute stomping from the 31, as he is 25 seconds ahead of Josh Wolf. And Carter Kundinger just went through pit lane. Was that a black flag for too many incidents?
I am unsure on that one. I would have to go back and double check, but you're right. That hands Jeffrey Ooms back to second place. Talk about a whirlwind of emotions.
That he took fuel. He short fueled it too much. Their strategy to try and undercut on fuel has backfired a little bit. Does Cast now have enough to make it to the finish?
Well, and Cast is going to have to go a whole nother lap. I'm looking at him on the racetrack. He's coming through the final 2 corners, so he's got another 3+ miles to go.
I mean, could this be a miscalculation on how many laps they thought they would do? Because remember, it hinges on the overall leader. He's going to stay out. He thinks he's got enough to finish this one. So Robert Cast, even though he had a similar pit stop time, seemed to have saved just a bit more than Carter.
Well, and Paul Gibson is coming through turn 8, the heel of the boot, so he doesn't have anybody between himself now and the checkered flag. Just a couple corners to go, and Paul Gibson will capture that elusive Autobahn win.
He has been looking for this one as he comes out through the final corner. Celebrations here in upstate New York for the number 31 taking victory at Watkins Glen.
Huge moment for that number 31. He's 25 seconds in front of P2 as we'll watch a bunch of these other cars. Oh, is this Staropoli around?
Looks to be him, indeed. Schmudlach is going to be able to go by, so he'll take that spot. We still have our battle for... it wasn't a battle for Robert Cast. He's now 21 seconds ahead of Ooms, that's right. So he's, I think, going to be our next one through if he passes Ross Booth here, who you can see on your screen. Once he was able to distance himself from Young Park, he basically ran away with this one by about 7 seconds. Looks like no, he's going to finish ahead of our LMP2 leader. Ross Booth adds another to his list of victories this season, number 6 out of 9 rounds. And then it is Robert Cast across the line to take what I believe is his first win this season.
That LMP2 field with only 6 cars in it, I think provided some of the biggest drama of the entire race. And this is Franco Margarella, your GTD AM leader, currently about a second in front of Zach Michaelis there, so he's coming around the final corner. This is your GTD AM winner, Franco Margarella.
Nicely done by Franco. A correction for myself. Robert Cast has his second win of the season. His first one came at Long Beach. So definitely likes these tracks where there's little room for error out there, as this is what happened to Staropoli. He's not close to their car. Yeah, just did it on his own.
And I turned some practice laps in a GT car in this layout here, Joe. You go off of that inner loop, kind of bus stop banking, if you will, and then you're immediately on the brakes. If you take it in a little bit too deep, that Porsche with the rear engine, it just continues that yaw angle.
Yeah, it's notorious for that, and he fell victim to it right on the last lap as Paul Gibson is going to take the win today over Josh Wolf, who finished P2, and then Nathan Dowd somehow brought that car into third. I cannot explain how he did that. Max Muir fought back up to fourth place, and Leif Peterson was fifth as Eddie Layton finished P6 and Billy Smith seventh. And it was Jimbo Pfeiffer rounding out your drivers in the GTPs, finishing eighth. Robert Cast takes a bit of a surprise win here today in the LMP2s, as Jeffrey Ooms was 10th. Carter Kundinger was 11th, third, rather, second and third there in that class. Robert Tinsey, P4. Brian Bennett was 5th, and Thomas Fisher was P6.
Then winning that GTD class was Ross Booth. Young Park stands on the podium next to him in second place. The Audi of Alex Simonik rounds out that GTD podium in third. Bradley Haley finishing in fourth in GTD. Michael Marlowe fifth. Paul Schumlock in sixth. Eric Staropoli with that late race incident finishes seventh in GTD. Cam Bidwell in eighth. Franco Margarella, your GTD AM winner, back here in ninth in GT overall, 23rd place. Zach Michaelis, second place GTD AM. Austin Diltz, third place GTD AM. Trevor Vavrovsky will finish in 12th. Tom Hammond, 13th. Trent Brown in 14th. Mark Kudrowski in 15th. And Shane Hunter, 30th overall, 16th in that GT field, Joe.
Then you get down to William Brennan there in 17th with Chris Sherburne in 18th. And it's to the cars that had some problems, some of them DNFing. Dale Green did manage to finish, but Rosenbaum did not. Ross, Davis, everybody from here on down was a DNF. It looks like we've got Paul Gibson ready to talk to us, and he definitely controlled this one once his rivals kind of took themselves out, I guess you could say. Paul, your first win of the season. It took a bit, but at least it finally came.
Yeah, finally. It took a little while to get here. Some twists and turns, but finally made it. Yep, it was really cool.
Fourth ever win for you in the Autobahn Championship. But you had some challenges from you behind, but Max basically removed himself from it, we think, because he didn't put the right race fuel in. And then there was that issue with Shane Larson getting involved in the wreck. After that, did you have any concerns, or was it just let's tick off the laps and bring it home?
Yeah, I saw Max get up into second, and then he just was wheeling me down the straightaways, and so I thought maybe he was just using up his battery to try and get to me, or I wasn't sure what was going on, and then I saw him disappear. And then, yeah, Larson put a bunch of pressure on, and I just kind of let him go, because I felt that was going to end poorly for both of us if I kept pushing it. So I just kind of let him go, and then a couple turns later, he got collected with some GT3. So, but yeah, after that, it was just, don't get any X's, preserve the 0X, all that. I got to maximize my points here on out to try have any shot at, doing well in the championship. So this is kind of what the doctor ordered. So yeah, that worked out really well.
It absolutely is. Dominic not here. Max having a bad day. You are going to close in up there on that caddy. Congratulations on getting a win, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you next time out at Spa.
Yeah, awesome. All right. Thanks, guys.
This is Paul Gibson, your winner in the GTPs. And second-time winner this season, Robert Cast, has caught up with Joey.
Robert, congratulations on the win. How does it feel, bud?
Feels good, guys. Long time no see. It's been a few races, and I'm glad to be back in the winner's seat.
I got to ask you, your pit stop time was the exact same time as your teammate Carter Kundinger, but it seemed like he short fueled. How close to empty were you at the end of this thing?
Yeah, he short fueled, and I went over as a just in case, and it definitely paid off because I was a little worried we were either going to go the extra or I was going to have too much, which obviously is a concern, but it all paid off in the end.
And I have to ask you my last question here. Was that your strategy all along, being in third place back there, to kind of leapfrog them in the pits, or did you feel like you had the outright pace to go down there and pass them on track?
My car started out with a lot of understeer, and I knew that was a problem going into this race with the setup that I had, and I knew it got faster in the back half, so I was waiting to let that play into my advantage. We had a lot of hairy moments going through traffic the first time, and when I went through and I was checking times, I saw that I had 3 more laps of fuel when I passed Ross, and I figured 3 more laps of clear air is going to get me further up in the line to not have to pass as many GT3s, and that's where I think they lost more time, is running through the pack again, where I had a pretty smooth sail that time before I pit. So it all played off quite well.
Well, Robert, thank you for coming out and racing with us, and congratulations on collecting that checkered flag tonight.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, guys.
That was the driver of the 42, Robert Cast.
It looks like we've got Ross Booth with us too here, who takes another victory in the GTD Pro. Now 6 out of 9. Ross, it's the strike rate is looking pretty darn good this season. It seemed like Young Park was holding on at first, but did you just manage to shake him and get him off that slipstream?
Yeah, I was really worried this whole race. It was basically going to be a fuel mileage race with how big the draft is down the huge straightaway there. But fortunately, I was able to get lucky in traffic. Park just got the short end of the straw tonight with traffic. I think was the main difference.
So we have a lot of long straights here, although there are some quick corners, which I'm sure makes it difficult at times. How was the traffic in general with the LMP2s and GTPs? Because we saw a few moments where cars tangled, but we really didn't get to follow to see how crazy it was for you.
Thankfully, for the most part, they caught me in a good spot. All the times they got around me, I was shocked at how fast they caught us on the first time through. I was sort of thinking it'd be like lap 7 or 8, but no, it was like lap 4. So the party got started pretty early here tonight.
It really did, and this again puts you in an excellent position coming into the latter stages of the season. What do you do from here? Do you try to points race, or do you just keep trying to rack up the wins?
I think we just gotta keep doing what we're doing. It's a huge advantage starting on pole in these races. And yeah, you just gotta keep it clean, keep it together. There's a couple of 90-minute double points race coming, so anything can happen with regards to the championship. So we just gotta keep doing what we're doing and hope for the best.
Well, best of luck then when we go to Spa, and again, congratulations.
Thanks, Joe.
That was Ross Booth, winner in GTD Pro. And then we've got Franco Margarella here with Joey Atterbury, who won GTD AM.
Franco, congratulations on the win here at Watkins Glen.
Thanks. Appreciate it, guys.
So it seemed like things were a little bit busy for the first 10 laps or so for you, but then it calmed down. How was the race as a whole for you?
Pretty calm, actually. It was just, I had a nice little pack there to run with and some good draft partners, and, just kind of smooth sailing. Traffic seemed to catch me at the right times tonight, which I'm very fortunate for and I'm very thankful for. But yeah, pretty clean race overall.
Now, I made the comment that we're starting to see some of these Audis run more up front. You had a good battle with a Porsche and Cam Bidwell. What really draws you to that Audi, and did you see any strengths versus the Porsche or weaknesses between the two cars?
Yeah, definitely. So the draw, I guess, just getting away from the BMW. I drove the BMW for so long. I was looking for something new. They just released this, so I figured I'd give it a shot, and it's pretty solid. the biggest differences in the Audi and the Porsche is that Porsche is really quick in the infield, but I'll make that back up on the straights. So if I get a good exit out of turn one, whatever 2-3 tenths I lose, I'll make back up and sometimes more.
Well, it seemed like you had a pretty hooked up car underneath you here. Congratulations on collecting that GTD AM win, Franco.
Yep, thanks. And if I could just give a quick shout out to my team, Composite Performance, love those guys, and our sponsor Sim and Grid Engineering. Really appreciate everything they got to do. So thanks again.
Franco Margarella coming home with the GTD AM win, 9th overall in GT.
Which is going to wrap up our interviews for tonight. So we want to give a big thank you to Autobahn for bringing us back for another season of coverage, as well as a thanks to the team today, Joey and Zach. Next race, like we said, will be Spa. That's February 19th at 9 p.m. Eastern. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.